Welcome back to Delaware Perspective. The fight to save open space in Delaware and parts of Pennsylvania is sometimes a David versus Goliath story. And in Delaware, a young man named Jason Hoover has taken on the role of the little guy, so to speak, against the big developers with his Save the Valley organization, the Save the Valley movement, which he founded just a couple of years ago. And it is a continuing fight. And Jason, you're here in the studio with us this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a movement that continues to grow. You've gotten more than 5,000 people on Facebook who agree with you that it's become a problem, that all the development in parts of Delaware and Pennsylvania. Now, you were a runner and you saw the need to start the Save the Valley movement. Talk a little bit about that, because you used to run through parts of Beaver Valley, and you just started noticing that, you started seeing less and less of it as you were running. So talk about the inspiration for the Save the Valley movement.
Right. So, growing up in North Wilmington, I was, blessed with this huge expanse of open space to run it. And there's trails throughout the whole thing. But I've always known growing up that it's privately owned land and it could one day be sold off. And one day when I was running, someone stopped me and said, "Hey, did you know that there's plans to develop this piece of land over here?" So I said to myself, this is, I want to get involved and I want to, stop this development because this is such an important piece of land to me. As far as not just, for running, but, it's my way to, escape.
Save the environment, sure, yeah.
Save the environment. But, as I started this movement, it turns out it's very important to a lot more than just myself. The entire community, is very, very attached to it.
Were you surprised by the groundswell of support that you got when you decided to start the Save the Valley movement? Again, it was 2 years ago, thousands of people on Facebook. You had a big turnout, I guess in 2013, where you had, hundreds of people, maybe 1,000?
Yeah, close to 1,000 people. This land it's kind of a little bit confusing because it crosses many borders. So it starts in Delaware and it, flows into Pennsylvania and it crosses, different township lines.
And we're taking a look at some of the video now of the different pieces of property we're talking about,
right,
that are really being threatened by developers, so to speak, I guess.
Right, and its proximity to, development and urban sprawl is, it's, you literally cross 202 and it's right there. So it's a very special, important piece of space. About half of the land was just turned into Delaware's first national park, 2 years ago. And about half the land is saved and the other half is slated for development. So, a lot of people are very upset by that. And they want to, have that land saved, either join the national park or just become privately held land that has a land conservation easement on it.
So why should we care, really? I mean, why should the average person care, about the fact that development, is happening at a breakneck pace through parts of Delaware, parts of Pennsylvania, and why is it important to know that there are movements like Save the Valley out there? Why should it matter to us?
Well, a lot of people moved to the area, because of the open space that used to be here. Concord Township used to be Concord Township is where the current development plans are in Pennsylvania. And, they moved there because of all the open space. It was a very rural community 50 years ago, and it's been, very quickly built out. And now there's just this very last stand of open space left, which is why people originally moved there. We have to protect it. It's important, recreationally for hikers, bikers, horseback riders, runners. It's important ecologically. There's endangered species. There's protected species in there. And historically, there's, dozens of buildings that are older than the country that are still standing there in great condition. And all of these would disappear, just to put in some high-density housing developments.
Well, and there are people who would say housing is good, so, we'll talk about that aspect in a bit. But what is the strategy for 2015 for the Save the Valley movement? Because we know that there is, legislation, there's the buy right proposal that we can talk a little bit about, but what is the strategy for the Save the Valley movement, your movement, as we move into 2015?
So what our strategy is to educate the public on the issue, and really oppose the plan that the developers came to the table with. So back in 2013, when we had this big rally, the developers had submitted what's called a rezoning proposal, or they wanted to build more houses than they were currently allowed.
Talking Pennsylvania or Delaware?
This is in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, okay.
Yeah, Delaware hadn't had any plans drawn up yet.
Okay.
And the entire Concord Township section would have been developed. So it was 550 houses and 220,000 square feet of commercial space. And people were very upset about that, so we rallied about 1,000 people to show up to this meeting, and the developers withdrew their proposals. Now, they've since come back with what's called a by right plan, meaning what they're currently allowed under the current zoning law. And we believe that it's not actually a by right plan, because they have requested 40 to 60 variances on that land. So part of it is take a look at what the developers are doing and make sure that they are complying with the law properly, and challenge them when they're not.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the opposition that you've been facing from developers and local government to some aspect. I mean, in some ways it becomes political, and we don't need to talk politics, but there has been some opposition to just a young man who was just trying to save the environment and save the different places of his community that he likes to run through. Stand by. We're going to continue our conversation, but let's take a quick break. And Delaware Perspective will continue right after this. Welcome back to Delaware Perspective. We're talking with Jason Hoover, who's the founder of the Save the Valley movement, which 2 years ago we decided to start because of you were finding open spaces were being threatened by development, and so many reasons why people moved to parts of Delaware and Pennsylvania is because of the open space, and it was starting to become diminished a little bit. You face some opposition from developers, needless to say, who want to build houses or malls, whatever. And has their opposition been surprising to you as far as the level of opposition? I mean, has it gotten to a point where you kind of wondered, have I bitten off more than I can chew here?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Delaware, so I guess the politics there, you're a little closer to your representatives, whereas kind of like a boys club and across the border. And we did, I've come up against a lot of opposition in Concord Township. Kind of the laws are very favorable to developers, and they were, I think they don't like that, maybe we could be threatening their way. So yeah, I've been, a lot of times I've been threatened personally, or
really?
Threatened to be by township officials, threatened to be sued. There's been mailings blasted across the township with all of my personal information on it to tell everyone to stay away from me. So it was a little, I thought it was a little unorthodox way of, running township. But sometimes I wonder, wow, I didn't expect that, and I start to think, what am I getting myself into? But then when I go back and see all the support that we have and all the people who are just so happy that we have this organization, then that recharges me, and I'm ready to go again.
Well, that's certainly good to know, and because again, we're just talking about a volunteer organization that is funded basically on donations from people. And again, if you were interested in donating to the Save the Valley movement, you can go to the website, savethevalley.org, and there's a donate button, or right there.
Yep, there's a donate button at the top, and we try to be a little creative, so you could actually pledge a monthly amount. So we call it the smallest sacrifice pledge. So if you want to give up the price of a movie ticket, or the price of your gym membership that you're only going to use for 1 month out of the year anyway, you could pledge that amount every month, or you could just choose to donate once.
That's great. Well, again, the opposition from developers and local governments, and and feeling like what have I gotten myself into? It must, on the other hand, be inspiring when you see so many people who are willing to join, willing to donate, who want to be a part of this movement.
Absolutely. It's really encouraging, driving around, you see our bumper stickers everywhere. Here's our, Save the Valley bumper sticker.
Here, hold that up. Yeah, there it is.
Sorry.
Save the Valley. There we go.
There we go. Save the Valley bumper sticker. We have 2 of them out there, so look for them. You get your free bumper sticker on our website. I'm pleasantly surprised all the time when I'm just going somewhere and, I mention Save the Valley and people say, oh, I've heard of that organization. I love it. Thank you for the work that you're doing. It's really encouraging.
That's great. And you made a point, and I'm sure you want to emphasize this, that you're not necessarily blocking development, but you also are offering a solution.
Correct.
As well, so that
right.
So that there could still be a preservation of open space, but at the same time there can be some type of development as well. I mean, you're not necessarily 100% against development.
Right. We're not 100% against development, but we do feel that this is a particularly important area for historic, ecologic, recreation reasons. So we recognize that we can't just say, hey, you can't develop here. We have to come up with a solution. So that's what's unique about our movement, is that we want to assemble a consortium of purchasers to buy the land and put a conservation easement on it, whether it's by foundations or individuals. It's actually going to take everything across the board to buy this land, and we want to offer fair market price for this land. So we're not just saying, hey, you can't sell this land, but we want to come to the table with the developers, the Woodlawn trustees, and have them purchase, or have our consortium purchase the land.
Okay, because just to play devil's advocate, a developer who wants to build housing for people who need places to live, as more and more people move into the community, certainly there's nothing wrong with building housing for a community that may need it. You're just saying that some parts of this area should be preserved.
Absolutely,
regardless.
It's adjacent to our First State National Park. We fought for years to have this, and now we're so fortunate to have this national park right next to our city. And now we want to develop the gateway to it. It just doesn't seem right.
As we again continue to look at the video of some of the spaces that are being threatened. So where do you run now? Because it's 2 years ago when you started seeing running through the Beaver Valley.
Well, I still run in the same area. None of it has been touched yet. So far we've been successful, and we're just growing stronger every day.
Wonderful. We'll keep up the good fight.
Thank you.
And hopefully the Save the Valley movement will continue to grow. And again, the website for people who want to participate or want to donate, give the website one more time.
It's savethevalley.org.
Okay. And the plan for 2015 is just to continue to grow and get more members.
Yep. We want to keep working with now the Delaware representatives, get their support to protect the Delaware section as well as the Pennsylvania section. Okay. So we have to work, across a lot of state lines.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 28.
So you were 26 when you started this?
Yes.
That's great. Well, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And we want to thank you at home for tuning in for Delaware Perspective. Once again, I'm Rick Williams. We'll see you next time right here on 6ABC. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.